both of our KaiserOst series. And France starts to decide they want to expand. They want to expand into Switzerland, communist France, but they realize they could get Russia to go communist. So they start supporting the Russian communists. Which, well, that's what they have. They have all of these areas. They are voted for the Communist Party. But since the communists didn't get in against the, probably ended up either still Russian Empire or a democratic country, one or the other. And Germany doesn't support a side, but they're against the communists, because that's France's ally, their last ally, because that'd lead to a two-front war breakout. So they would probably lean more towards the blue. With France supporting them with weapons aid along with South Africa. They send weapons in. Russia gets worried, so they tell their allies about this possible situation, which is India, which became independent. France, Republic of France, which is in Africa, literally, and Britain. And well, the leader of the communists. I think this would be after Lenin's dead, because it would probably be about the 1930s. At this point, 1930s or 1940s. But I'd say 1930s, because it started in 1918 is when it ended. So yeah, a civil war has begun. And well, this is a civil war. And within the first few weeks, a massive advance is made by the communists into this part of Russia, which was caught by its enemies. With them quickly capturing these areas, because these areas are what in the way, they capture the small island, because, well, they have to. Continue like this. From the northern area, they start making advances on St. Petersburg, and they start advancing north from here. And well, they quickly link up these two fronts. And they link up these ones. And the two other major fronts get linked up. And eventually, the front line looks like this. And well, they make one more advance before, well, we'll see the other. They make advances along, like, the borders of some of their territory. Slightly here, because they're struggling against Russian resistance against there. And well, the front starts to begin to look like this. Which does not look good for the government in charge. But they make counter-offensives. They kind of push the communists back there and here. But then they completely kick them out of this area of their occupation, which they couldn't get to unoccupy, which is because they couldn't make like a connection. And well, they get pushed right back to here, and then this area is forced out. And well, they managed to take back one of the connections between these two areas and push back over here. But with the communists having an advantage at this point, as they're constantly taking land. And well, at this point, this is what their front looks like. But with Russia, the Russian government, pushing back, and well, they quickly move into the blue team occupied area with the support of their allies. With Russia running into a crisis as the Battle of St. Petersburg breaks out with an advance from the northern area to close to the front line. As their first advance there gets into the city, or near the city, which starts the Battle of, well, St. Petersburg. So they capture these lands. And well, they even start to advance around Moscow. Not Moscow, St. Petersburg. With the battle ending in a communist victory, which is a big morale destruction against the government in charge and their ally. And well, as this happens, they start to connect these two fronts. And they even move up towards here, but then they decide to advance, push the Russians back here. And they start supporting communist fighters, which these communist fighters manage to take this, and then they move into the south. With this area cut off completely from the rest of Russia, they start losing territory quick. And well, Russia's completely demoralized, which leads to more and more lands falling. How did Russia become this demoralized? Well, because they started losing many battles. And well, the communists' strength keeps growing as somebody is sponsoring them with even sending troops. But they can't figure out who it is. Although, it's France and South Africa are who's sending iron. With them now starting to only have the core areas of the country, like Moscow, which slowly they move in on all fronts, and quickly the city crumbles towards the communists. Let's see let's see Russia be annexed by the communists. And France invites them to the alliance. But this is secret. And Britain or anyone else doesn't know. But they're not actually don't get to join it, they just get the support as if they were, with the alliance guaranteeing they would defend them in case of war and would help them rebuild, but they don't want them to join just because of emergency. In case of problems. With them asking Thailand if they want to join their alliance, they say no. Vietnam says no. They ask Malaysia, they say no. And well, they ask Australia and New Zealand and Canada, and they all say no. So, well, they're in a bit of trouble. They ask China, which also says no. Japan tries alliance expands as these nations ask Japan to join their alliance, which is really bad. Britain doesn't like at all the fact of this. And Germany's alliance becomes more defensive. But France, seeing that they have an opportunity now, decides they will invade Switzerland. Why would you invade Switzerland, you may ask? Because, well, they can annex the country. Even though Switzerland's neutral, so a lot of countries don't like it. But no one wants to intervene, fearing that the new communists could be really dangerous if anybody does go against France. So France, quickly, without anybody opposing it, with everyone opposing it, but not doing anything, literally, France just takes this piece of land like it's nothing. And well, then they annex the land. So, like, as you can see, France is now something you don't want to mess with. And seeing Central America as, like, basically no threat, they decide to invade, with America warning them about invading Costa Rica. And well, Costa Rica quickly joins their alliance so that nothing can happen. Along with Cuba, Jamaica, because, well, Mexico has just declared war on most of Central America. Except Costa Rica because of the warning. And, well, after this war starts, Costa Rica, Cuba, and Jamaica decide to join, well, the League of the American Defense Pact. Basically, that's what it's called. And quickly they move in, with America and allies sending support to the countries they're invading, with Mexico even pulling off a naval invasion. With these countries trying to launch a counteroffensive. But really, they just end up doing this. Well, that's a good counteroffensive. Makes Mexico realize they can't just walk over these nations. But another problem is, well, they can't do much. They can keep trying to do counteroffensives, but what's it really going to yield for them? Nothing. But they keep doing it anyways. With Mexico decided to make 2 naval landings, one in El Salvador and one in Nicaragua, with these both connecting and then connecting up to here. And then they realized they got a problem. Well, this full area collapses and is taken over. So Mexico annexes it all of it. And Japan gets ready for its biggest operation yet, where it decides it'll invade China. But what will happen? Can they win? Who knows? After seeing their land gains there, they realize it's possible to make more land gains into Imperial China. Probably could have been an ally, too. But they decide they will go to war with them instead. Which is kind of crazy. And well, that's all for today's video. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Wild Mapper out, but not until you subscribe. Why should you subscribe? So we can get to 2,900 subscribers by September 1st. And the 3,000 subscribers special can happen. And bye, guys!